Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And I have a question for Jeff.
You do?
I do.
Uh-huh.
How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
You know, Mondays. Right, we're recording this on a Monday if you guys don't know.
We often record on Mondays.
Right. Usually, yeah. So, you know, I got the Monday, a case of the Mondays.
Sounds like someone's got a case of the Mondays.
No. Yeah. But, I mean, other than that, not so bad. How about yourself?
Oh, doing pretty good. The last couple of days I've slept in way later than I mean to. I usually, because of my late work schedule, I usually sleep in until about 1. Like I go to bed about 6 in the morning. I wake up about 1 or 2. And the last 2 days I've woken up at like 4.
Yeah.
So
there's a heated debate as whether or not catching up on sleep works or whether it works or not.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I've heard people say that you have to, and if you don't, it's like you're operating while drunk or something.
Sure.
But
or
I don't know.
It's like catching up on sleep by if you didn't get enough sleep during the week, if you sleep in on the weekends, is it really beneficial or not? Does it count?
I don't know.
I've heard it both ways.
I do know that whenever I sleep in, I feel like I've wasted the day.
I mean, yeah, it depends on how. Like when I used to sleep in, I used to sleep until well past noon, and those days I'd wake up and feel like, well, there went the entire day, because some days I'd be up really late the night before, so it's not like I didn't have time to do things. It's just you still feel like, oh well, the sun was up for most of the time I was asleep.
Yeah.
But now when I sleep in, I don't sleep anywhere past I think 11's the latest I'm in bed now. That's just because I normally get up at 6.
Oh, wow.
30.
Yeah. Jeez.
So
I go to bed about 6:30.
So yeah, Gabe and I've had opposite schedules.
Yeah. And my wife and I kind of have opposite schedules, which really sucks. But
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got going on. Just trying to get stuff done around the house and
the usual.
So you want to go ahead and get into this episode?
Sure.
All right. So Jeff, I want you to imagine that you are on an expedition to the jungle. The jungles of let's put this in a fantasy world, because for a while we've been doing our Dragon's Horde intros in real world situations. Let's say you are on an expedition to the jungles of Chult, the jungle in the southern region of the Forgotten Realms.
Oh, okay.
And so you got your machete, you're hacking your way through some brush, and you come across an ancient temple that appears to be covered in ivy. Doesn't look like anybody set foot in here for years.
Nice.
For years. For centuries or something.
I mean, that's years.
That is years. That's true. Minutes too. Oh man, so many minutes.
So many seconds.
So you start hacking apart some of this ivy that's reclaimed this temple, and you notice there is a statue above this doorway ahead of you. I want you to make a religion check.
Okay.
And see if you can identify what the statue might be representing.
All right. See, I'm not proficient in this skill. Sorry, Mom. But I rolled pretty well.
You rolled pretty well. Okay. That's a 17 for anybody not in the room with us. And so you recognize this as a sort of like a humanoid monkey that was a herald of this long dead deity, that his temples were supposedly held immense power, but also immense danger.
Ooh.
Do you choose to go in, or do you choose to cover it back up and go home?
I mean, no, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit.
Okay, then I want you to roll a dexterity saving throw. Oh, snap.
I'm doing pretty good
16.
today.
You're doing pretty good. So you walk through the entrance to this temple, and immediately a barrage of darts shoots at you from one of the walls. But you manage to dive out of the way. You jump over some other hazards, some other traps, and so on. You eventually find yourself in a room where you see there is a large statue of... It's similar to the one you already saw, but this one has leathery wings and claws and a long snout.
Ooh.
And it's standing over I don't know, a big golden idol or something. Sure, let's do the whole Indiana Jones thing. It's standing over a big golden idol.
Okay.
What do you do?
I'm gonna walk up to it and I'm gonna look at that idol.
Okay, give me a history check.
Not so brushed up on the history.
That's a 9. You recognize it is a golden statue, probably worth a whole lot of money.
Oh, okay. Well,
maybe of religious significance, maybe not.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take it.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick it up.
All right. Give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh no. An 11.
Ooh, an 11 is not gonna make it. You feel yourself as you grab this golden idol. Your hand starts to feel really tingly.
Ooh.
You pick up your hand, you hold it in front of your face, and it looks, you realize this thing's painted gold because it started to rub off on your hand.
Oh, no.
And you go to rub it off your hand, and then you realize that it's spreading.
Oh, no.
In fact, where you rubbed it off on your pant leg, now your pants are turning gold.
Oh, gold pantaloons.
And then you hold up your hand, you look at your other hand, you've already dropped the golden idol, and you look at yourself and you realize that you are being turned into gold.
Oh, no.
You let out a scream. Your scream echoes through the hall, and then you get a better look at your surroundings, and you see the hall is full of other people who have been turned into gold. And your last thought as you turn into a solid statue is that you realize you are now going to be a part of the dragon's horde.
Oh, man. Oh, man, that'd be kind of cool. Dragon, like a dragon that turns people into gold and adds them to his pile.
That's actually pretty cool. I was kind of taking this a little bit from... have you played the first Tomb Raider game? For the old PlayStation?
Just
the old PlayStation.
The old PlayStation.
Yep.
I had it on the computer, I think. I don't know if I got very far.
Oh, gotcha. Well, there is a level where you find a statue and its hand has fallen off. It's like a really, really big statue. And the base of the statue says Midas. And
sure,
the object of the level is you find these lead bars, and then you have to place them on the hand. They turn into gold bars, and then you put them in this thing, and then the 3 gold bars opens up the doorway or whatever. But you can climb on top of the hand, and when you do, there's this awesome little animation of Lara Croft getting turned into gold, and then she like falls over and clunk.
Clink, clink.
It's pretty good. Anyway, so our Dragon's Horde item today was submitted by Collins via email, and the item he submitted is the Staff of Banana.
Oh.
So I sort of drew a little bit of inspiration for today's Dragon's Horde from that. So this item is a staff, as indicated by its title, the Staff of Banana, and it is also a banana. No, it is also an artifact which requires attunement. So this is some hefty stuff.
Okay,
and you'll see what it can do as we go on.
Okay.
The scepter wielded by the ancient Lord of Monkeys. It appears as a 4-foot-long golden staff with an ornate banana at the end. The staff has 10 charges and 3 special abilities.
Ooh.
You can expend 1 charge to hurl a magic banana from the staff at an enemy. Make a ranged spell attack. On a hit, the banana deals 1d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier of bludgeoning damage.
Okay.
So you just whack him in the face with a banana real hard.
A banana at him.
Yes.
All right.
Then you can expend 5 charges to summon a 50-pound pile of bananas, which Collins has very courteously provided is 125 bananas.
Nice.
Within 5 feet of you. You can eat a banana as an action to regain 1d4 hit points.
Oh.
So that is like 600 hit points worth, potentially 600 hit points worth of healing.
So this is like you like sit down for a short rest and you just eat a bunch of an hour's worth of bananas.
Pretty much. And then
all your hit points.
Maybe Steve Jobs had this, because didn't Steve Jobs, wasn't he on some weird diet where he would eat like nothing but bananas?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Anyway. And then there's one final ability for this. You can expend 10 charges to summon all monkeys within a 1-mile radius.
Okay.
The monkeys use the same stat block as an ape, which I believe is in the monster manual. The summoned monkeys are friendly to the wielder of the staff and can obey simple commands.
Cool.
So let's say you're in, I don't know, an Arctic environment. Probably not going to be summoning a lot of monkeys. But if you're in the jungle, and maybe you've already summoned that 50-pound pile of bananas, there's going to be a lot of monkeys around.
Right. Yeah.
You summon all of them, and they obey you.
Now, is this like they summon as in like they just appear next to you? Or,
oh, that's a good question.
Or do they physically like walk to you?
I imagine they all physically walk to you, but you might you teleport them all to you.
That could be a lot of monkeys.
That could be a lot of monkeys. And it doesn't say how long the effect lasts for. Let's not make it permanent. Let's say it's like an hour or a day or something. I feel
like there's like charm spells or something you can base it off of.
Sure.
Yeah, like you could have it where they do they do appear, but then like after a certain amount of time, like the friendliness wears off and they wander back off into where they came from or something.
Sure. And then Collins actually sent a little additional thing, because I noticed that it doesn't say what happens, like how you regain charges.
Oh, yeah.
When I first read this, I thought, oh, shoot, well, I mean, it's only got 10 charges.
Yeah.
And then it's done. But Collins says he neglected some crucial information. The staff regains 1d6 plus 4 expended charges daily at dawn. So it gets back at least 5 a day. So that's pretty good.
Nice.
But then, if you expend the last charge, roll a d20. On a 1, the staff explodes in a 1,000-pound pile of bananas on top of the user.
Oh, no.
Which, unfortunately, will probably kill the user, but that's 2,500 bananas, Jeff.
That's a lot of bananas.
Do you know how many hit points you can get back with 2,500 bananas?
So it holds 10 charges, and it takes 10 charges to summon all the monkeys within a mile.
Yeah.
So imagine summoning all the monkeys within a mile, and then it explodes into a pile of bananas.
Of 2,500 bananas.
2,500 bananas.
Yes.
Those are some happy monkeys.
Those are some happy monkeys.
Yeah.
Maybe because you won't be around, you'll probably be dead in order to issue them simple commands. Maybe before you summon the monkeys, write out on a piece of paper, please kill all my enemies. They won't still be under your control because you'll be dead. But they'll be so happy because of all those bananas, they'll probably still obey your command anyway.
Yes. They'll make a shrine of you, and
yes, they'll make it out of bananas.
Yeah, out of the peels.
Yes. Yeah, man. There is a certain video game character I think would love to have this staff.
Oh yeah.
And that character is obviously Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Right? Yeah, I mean, come on. He's always going on about his bananas.
His spiky yellow hair. Yeah, like that's just an homage to his love of bananas.
Yep, there you go. Or oh no, I'm sorry, not him. There's an old Nintendo arcade game where you're this dude, you jump around, you climb up construction equipment. Oh, obviously, the character Centipede. In there. I was gonna say Mario would love the bananas, but no, yeah, the Centipede. Centipedes love bananas. Did you guys know this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who also likes bananas and is from an old arcade game? Q*bert.
Oh, Q*bert.
Yeah.
Q*bert always had that big pile of bananas.
Yeah, he did.
He loved his... You know, there was that game, Q*bert Country, for the Super Nintendo, and then he had his nephew, Arbert.
Arbert?
They would go around, take those bananas. Man.
Oh, man.
Good times. Good times. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Horde. That was the staff of banana.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like I've been lacking some
vitamin D,
some potassium.
Potassium. Yeah. Sorry.
I've been lacking some monkey themed magic items. So yeah, thank you. That's
there you go. We also a while back when we had Chris on.
Dang.
Mm-hmm. He had he submitted the Sash of Sun Wukong. I think.
Okay.
So that one was also, I mean, it's the Monkey King or whatever.
Yeah.
So that one kind of monkey theme, not quite as overtly monkey themed as
Yeah.
this one. So Staff of Banana, thank you, Collins.
Yeah.
If anybody wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Horde, Jeff, how would they do so?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com.
Yes. Before we go on to questions, however, we have a drawing for the Goblin Stone Adventure Chapel on the Cliffs.
Ooh.
So we've already drawn a winner today. So Jeff, who is our winner?
Our winner today is Jake M.
Whoa, winner.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Jake M. You should be getting this within 24 hours or so. If you haven't, send me an email, let me know, and we'll get you sorted out. Now, Jeff, if somebody wanted to enter this drawing, because we do it every week.
Yes.
Every week, somebody wins a copy of this great adventure.
Yeah.
How would they enter the drawing?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with the subject line, Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes, it is that easy. So, so send us an email, Chapel on the Cliffs. Enter this drawing. It's great. Goblinstone is awesome for helping us out with this great giveaway.
Yeah.
Now, we also have a Patreon. For anybody who doesn't know what a Patreon is it's a website where you can pledge to give a monthly donation to a podcast or whoever. I think you can actually set it so it's like every episode or whatever. But we have once per month. You can choose to give us some amount of money. Could be $1. Could be $5, $10, anything in between, anything more, I guess, if you wanted to give more than that. And then in return, you get cool rewards for it. So if you want to check out our Patreon, it's at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We've got outtakes on there, bonus episodes. I just put up a bonus episode a few days ago.
Oh, yeah.
By the time this goes out, it will have been about 2 weeks ago. But anyway.
Spooky Manor.
Spooky Manor. Jeff explores Spooky Manor.
Yeah, I think I did a fairly good job.
I think you did a very good job. Yeah. Except you did die. At some. Well, anyway, sorry. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Well,
at some point you died. So we went through a little sort of a text adventure, but it was a text adventure run by me, and I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Bonus episodes, outtakes. I write fantasy fiction every month.
Yes.
If you are a $1 patron, you can read it. If you are a $10 patron, I'll write it about your character.
Yeah. Come up with a character concept, or if there's a character that you used to play that you really like and want him to live on. Gabe does a really good job at writing stories.
Yes, thank you very much. I think so too. And then the day this episode goes out, we're going to be having a Roll20 game.
Oh, yeah.
Of D&D. So if you are a $10 patron, you can take part in that as well. So we've got some great patrons, and we've got some great rewards. So if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/interpartyconflict. And then just one more thing, or I guess two more things. Two other podcasts I want to tell you guys about.
Right.
D&D Character Lab.
Yep.
They're a great podcast. Garen and Dan, they make characters and then pit them against each other and debate whose is better. We just had them on as guests a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was good fun.
That was a lot of fun. And then also Crit Academy, which you can go to critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon, they give you new and reusable content for DMs and players alike. It's a lot of fun. You'll get tons of great ideas for stuff just from listening to their podcast.
Yeah.
And great guys, great fun. Check out the Crit Nation Fellowship, all the podcasts on there. So you want to get into the episode, Jeff?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Our first question comes from Aleskins on Reddit, and they ask, is realism more important than fun?
Yeah, now there's an obvious answer to this. No.
Fun is the most important thing when you're playing a game.
Sure. Fun is definitely it is the reason you're playing the game.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun, you shouldn't be playing the game. If someone else is spoiling your fun, they should change what they're doing. Fun is the end goal. So I would say nothing is more important than fun.
Yeah.
That being said, realism, and I'll take a moment and sort of specify the realism. There's a few different ways to define realism in regards to a tabletop game.
Sure.
I don't think that realism, like the hard and fast definition of realism, I don't think you should be trying to be using your game as a simulator for real life.
Sure. Yeah.
There are so many things about playing a tabletop game that do not conform to realism, no matter how you look at it. So if you want your game to be realistic, you're going to be aiming for whatever is your personal definition of realistic.
Yeah.
Because in order to make your game quote unquote realistic, you're going to be ignoring 1,000 things that are inherently unrealistic. So realism, depending on how you define it, probably isn't something that I think you should be aiming for. However, internal consistency, I think, is something that I strive for internal consistency in everything that I do, whether it's playing a game, whether it's writing a story.
Yeah.
In a world with magic, obviously magic is inherently unrealistic, but that doesn't mean that it can't be internally consistent.
Right. Yeah. As long as it's the mechanics, of the magic remain the same throughout. That's being realistic to the setting that you're in.
Yes.
One of the things people don't like about the prequels of Star Wars is when they tried to make the Force more realistic, I guess, with the whole midichlorians thing.
Oh yeah, I can understand that.
They tried to that was sort of putting a details to something that didn't necessarily need it, and like I feel like maybe that was sort of like an inconsistency, like because it felt like magic, but then it became science.
Sure.
And so that I think that kind of irked people. I don't know if that quite fits, but
well, here's a D&D example.
Sure.
I was recently, I saw somebody online, somebody on Reddit. They said something that I think made a lot of sense to me, and it is that magic is not science.
Mm-hmm.
If you are trying to say what magic does or doesn't do scientifically, you're doing it wrong. Because the fact that, I guess you could play a game differently than this, but the fact that it is magic means that it is not science.
Sure.
Magic explicitly breaks physics. It creates something out of nothing. It destroys energy or matter, which, energy and matter can't be created or destroyed or whatever. It transforms one thing into another thing. There are all sorts of things that you can do with spells in a game like D&D or other tabletop games that you cannot reconcile with science. People try to do it. People try to say, oh, well, it's converting this type of energy into matter and this type of matter into energy or whatever.
Well, yeah, which, that does go against the laws of nature in reality.
Sure.
I feel like magic can be like a sort of a type of science in that world. It
could be.
In that it does have laws and rules that in some form the wizards have to abide. That's why most wizards are typically they read books because they're studying magic. It's it's not science by our definition, but it is like a science, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, let me try to think of an example. Let's say you're in an enclosed room, or let's say you're in a hallway, a narrow hallway.
Yeah,
it's 100 feet long, 5 feet wide. Someone casts Fireball, and they put it right in the middle of that 100-foot long, 5-foot wide hallway.
Yeah.
According to the rules of the game, Fireball is a 20-foot radius.
Right.
So 20 feet in either direction, it stops right there.
Yeah.
Someone might look at D&D and try to say, because of how physics works,
right,
this fireball would extend more than 20 feet in either direction because the additional, the area of the blast doesn't have anywhere to go. So the, force or whatever that I don't even,
well, yeah,
I'm blanking on what the actual properties at work here would be, but they would say that scientifically speaking, the explosion would fill a large amount of the hallway.
Right.
Because of that.
Right, because you got to think when an explosion happens, it's displacing air.
Exactly. That's what I meant to say.
And so, if there's nowhere for the air to go, it's going to go with the path of least resistance would be further down the hallway.
Sure. So someone could look at it and say, scientifically, this would happen. I would say no. And the reason I say that is because if you start trying to apply science to the way that Fireball works in a narrow hallway, you have to also apply science to everything else that magic does. You have to ask, where is this explosion coming from without any sort of fuel, any sort of catalyst, except a person waving their arms and saying some words?
Yeah. It's evocation. It is the creation of energy.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody always says conjuration is a creation of energy. It's not.
Conjuration is like moving stuff.
Yes. In D&D,
teleportation.
Yeah. Conjuration is moving something that already exists somewhere else in the multiverse and bringing it here.
Yeah.
Evocation is you're just, bam, creating something. So anyway, you could look at a fireball and say this is how it would work scientifically. But then you also have to turn that scientific eye to all sorts of other things that cannot be reconciled.
Yeah.
What I think is a better way to do it, not everybody's going to agree with me. You run your own game however you want. But I think it is far, far, far less work for you to say, this fireball, despite being funneled into a smaller area, still only goes 20 feet in either direction. Why? Because it's literally magic.
Because it's magic.
It is magic. It's not science. You are not taking fuel and then igniting it by charging the electrons or whatever.
Right.
You are creating a ball of fire that is 20 feet in either direction.
Yeah. You're creating energy in a set space.
Yes. So, I think that if you get fun out of applying realistic, quote unquote, realistic science and whatnot, don't let me stop you.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a slippery slope. And I would rather play a game that is internally consistent but makes no sense science-wise than play a game where half of it makes sense science-wise and the other half, we got lazy and didn't feel like rewriting all of the game world to fit science. Because there are so many things about D&D that do not reconcile with science. And guys, it's magic. Like, it's right there in the name. It is literally magic. Stop trying to make it fit realism.
Although, trying to make things more realistic like that, like, for some people, is fun.
That's true.
So in that case, realism can be fun. You know, like, if that's your game. If that's what you like to do.
That's true. And also, I mean, maybe you're doing it as a thought experiment.
Sure.
And maybe you find out you come up with some really fun house rules that you can implement because you are trying to make it more, quote unquote, realistic. I just wish, like, use a different word than realistic because what you're doing isn't any more realistic than what the game is already doing. You're just making it more complicated.
Right.
That's really the problem is when someone gets an idea in their head like, oh, wait, this isn't realistic, so let's do this other thing. And then it's like, okay, now the game has twice as many rules.
Right, yeah.
Who's going to remember all those rules? There's already so many freaking rules in the game. Like, the game, a lot of things in D&D, and even more so in other games, a lot of things in D&D were simplified for the sake of fun. They were made simple so that you can just play it and not have to worry about all of the science. There are role-playing games out there where you need a graphing calculator to play the game.
Yeah.
And more than that. So if you are trying to find all of like the science behind everything you're doing in your game, I would kind of recommend trying out a game that is more science-based. They've already done half the work for you. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So anyway, again, I don't mean to tell anybody how they should get their fun. If trying to make the game more quote-unquote realistic is fun for you, go for it.
You hear that, people? Gabe hates fun. Go on.
I hate fun, everybody. If you're having fun and it's not my kind of fun, get out.
Get it.
Turn off the podcast right now.
No. Come back.
No, don't. No, like seriously, if you're having fun, have fun however you want. But like, I think you're making the game more complicated, and you're for a new play for someone that is not you. It's not going to be more fun. You know, for specific people, it's going to be fun, but for everybody else, it's like I would rather just play the game and not worry about you know, all of the atomic physics behind everything.
I didn't start this game to do math.
Sure. And I mean, which is more, I would say, which is more heroic? Because we talked about in an episode a long time ago, there was like somebody was saying that they had a halfling monk in their party or something, and a giant threw a boulder at him, and he tried to reduce the damage by using deflect arrows. And they were like, oh, well, a 50-pound halfling can't deflect a 30-pound boulder or whatever. I say go for it. I think that sounds like a great, fun character to play.
Yeah.
A tiny little halfling that can just, bam, slap a boulder out of the air.
Right.
I don't care if it doesn't make sense. That is badass.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell someone you can't do that because physics don't let it happen. Because guess what? Physics don't allow for halflings or giants.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Goku Man can lift mountains, and he's only like 5 foot.
Yeah, there you go.
Something.
You should base your physics off of Dragon Ball Z, not real world physics. Anyway, so realism, no, it's not more important than fun. Internal consistency, I think, is very important, but as I'm sure everybody could guess, fun really is the important thing. Get your fun however you want, but try to, I don't know. Just don't go for realism. Go for just fun, crazy, whatever.
Yeah, fun is mandatory.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, our next question comes from Lath. This was on email, and they ask, what is your ideal starting level for a campaign?
Yeah, so I think this is a good question.
Well, for 5th edition specifically, like level 2 and 3 seems to be where like a class becomes a class.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I had like players that were, you know, were experienced in the game and just wanted to get right into it, I think like 2nd or 3rd level would be good, because like I'd probably just say 3rd, just because like I want to. I know some of them start at 2, like get their like main ability at 2, and some of them get them at third. So they might as well just start at 3rd, so everybody can basically start off with what they're what their class is really going to be about.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, like, and even if you're doing like multi-classing, you can get some pretty cool combinations between 3 levels.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of multi-classing.
Yeah. So I mean, like, the character I'm playing right now is 2 levels of druid, and now I'm going to give him a level of barbarian, so he can be a raging giant.
Oh, that's really cool. Like raging bear or something.
He turns into a giant chameleon.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this depends largely on the edition of the game. Also, kind of what. No, it's basically just the edition. So, in 5th edition, like you were saying, 2 or 3, I think is really good. Some classes get their path at level 1, like clerics do.
Yeah,
wizards do. I think
warlock chooses what they're. Oh wait, no, they get a thing at 3.
No, warlocks get. They're packed at level 1, but they don't get any because they can choose like Pact of the Tome or Pact of the Blade or something. Can't they at level 1?
Yeah, they choose their patron at level 1, which has its own little bonuses and stuff. And then at 3 they get their Pact or Pact of the Tome, Pact of the Blade, and Pact of the.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. I thought you got those at level 1. That's level 3.
Yeah.
So you get some stuff at level 1, some stuff at level 3. Some classes get their specialization at level 2, and then a couple of them get them at level 3.
Right.
So yeah, 2 or 3, I think is pretty good. Level 1, especially back in 3rd edition days, level 1 was the worst level to start at because everyone dies in one hit.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's really tough to make a solid like first level encounter that isn't gonna like just by luck of the die kill half the party.
Yeah.
Because like that's basically what it comes down to is like most encounters at level 1 you're really it's up to the dice.
It's all up to the dice, yeah.
And like it's gonna make or break it, and I think you have a higher chance of breaking it.
Sure. So like in 3rd edition, first level, no, not at all. 2nd, 3rd, maybe even higher. I don't know.
Yeah.
4th edition, first level was awesome.
Yeah.
You start off with a ton of hit points.
Right.
You had a good assortment of abilities. You had, generally speaking, 2 at-wills, an encounter, and a daily.
Right.
And like, that was a cool assortment of stuff. And that's in addition to like whatever you got from your race and all that. So 4th edition, first level was great. Say what you will about 4th edition, but it made first level characters feel like I would love to play a first level 4th edition character because I didn't feel like I was going to die when someone sneezed on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
5th edition is better than 3rd edition was at first level, but even still, just your hit points are so low.
Yeah.
I don't like being afraid that a single hit is going to take me down.
Right.
I should probably bring up for the library, because I run games at the library all the time. I've pre-made characters, just because making characters takes 3 days to do. And so I made a whole bunch of 2nd level characters because, number 1, you don't die in one hit. Number 2, you have, in most cases, you have a little bit of your specialization in some form or another.
Right.
And number 3, it's not quite as complicated as level 3 because every class at level 3 gets something.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I want to be able to spend 5 minutes and get someone up to speed with their character and they've never played the game before, I feel like every class at 3rd level gets something that I would have to spend like an extra several minutes explaining. Whereas 2nd level, the ones that do have their specializations, I can choose abilities that are simple by that point. But level 3, I feel is just a little bit too far to explain easily.
Yeah, explaining a paladin's oath. It can be rough. There's the different types of monk.
Sure. All right, anyway. And then I've had these same selection of 2nd level characters available for I guess I've been doing this for like a year or something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than a year. But I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And I've had these same characters, and then Steve, our good friend Steve, actually made a suggestion that I let the players level them up to 3. Now, I hadn't considered doing that because we hadn't really had like the same people. We, for the most part, every month, it's anybody's guess as to who's going to show up. That being said, a few months ago, I think 4 months ago, I started doing, there's this one adventure that's broken up into 5, I've mentioned it many times, but there's one adventure that's broken up into 5 like hour-long mini adventures. And ever since we started that, we've had pretty much the same people every time. Sometimes there'll be additional people, but the same like 3 or 4 people have shown up to every one.
Cool.
And that's really cool. And because they've gotten pretty familiar with their characters, I think what I'm going to do is once we have one more of these that I'm going to do. I think once we've finished these 5 mini adventures, I'm going to have the next session be everybody show up. You're all going to level up your characters to level 3. And then those players, you know, instead of playing instead of going through an adventure that session, it'll just be you guys can choose what options you want your character to have at level 3. I'll see how they do. If some people get there and they're just not liking it at all, maybe I'll come up with something else to do with them. But
right. I feel like if you can get them through it quick enough, you might be able to like allow them to basically use that. Like you want them to be able to use it at least once. So maybe maybe even do like an individual like one little mob fight or something with
that's
a good
idea.
You level up your character like, and then you talk them through it, and then like, okay, a kobold shows up.
Sure.
Use your new ability on it, and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So I thought that since we've had the same people and because they've gotten more familiar with what they're doing, I thought it'd be a cool idea to let them level up to 3, and then maybe I can start throwing more difficult challenges at them. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because Steve has talked about. He's like I'm perpetually at level 2 because I'm like the only time he plays D&D is at the library. So
yeah, but the alternative is people showing up at the game and not knowing what the heck is going on because like they've got this high level characters with all these abilities and stuff, and I want to just keep it simple and easy for someone to jump into and play. Yeah. And if we level up to 3 and then there's a couple sessions where new people show up and they don't know what the heck they're doing, maybe I'll have like, this is a flashback episode or something. We'll go back to being level 2. Sure. I don't know. We'll deal with that when we get to it. But I don't think level 1 is a good starting level for most editions of D&D.
Right. Yeah, unless you're really going for like the long haul, you want to like develop the characters throughout the campaign and stuff like that. Like you want them to start from a beginning, or I'd say maybe even like I don't know, like if you're gonna start at 1, get through it as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
Like don't like I would never want level 1 to last more than a session.
Yeah, I want to say back in 3rd edition days, we would always level up to 2nd at the end of the first session, just because it's not only because level 1 sucks, but because like what challenges do you throw at a level 1 party that isn't going to give them the amount of experience necessary to get to level 2? Because in 3rd edition, it was 1,000 experience, which was like nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even if it's in the middle of an adventure, like heck, if it's in the middle of a battle, like you broke in the middle of a battle, but between sessions. Yeah. Like maybe even be like, during the battle, you've sort of like come into your own and like, started feeling things out. Like, you trained as a warrior for, most of your life. But now that you're actually in the thick of it, stuff's starting to like click.
It's all starting to click. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, okay, yeah, I could do this. I use this ability I didn't have a second ago.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Now, if someone said, hey, we're going to start a campaign, Gabe, you get to pick what level we're going to start at. I probably wouldn't start it necessarily at level 2 or 3. I mean, I think that like that is a good starting point. But like if I could have any pick, I would probably say level 5.
Sure.
I don't want to. I wouldn't want to start a new character at a high level because then that's so much stuff you gotta like plan out. You gotta figure out all this stuff. I would probably say level 5 because like everyone is well into their path by that point.
Right.
And you like that's when like fighters start to get second attack. That's when wizards start to get 3rd level spells. 3rd level spells are when spells start getting really good.
Yep.
I think 5th level is a really good, like with experienced players.
Yeah, absolutely.
5th level is a really good starting point. And then also, I know I've talked about how level doesn't have to be tied to your backstory, but a lot of people think it does. And so I think a lot of people would have an easier time coming up with a cool, interesting backstory at level 5 than at level 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, because a lot of times when like people are, especially newer players, want to come up with a really cool backstory, and they're coming up with like, yeah, he's this like veteran of the war, and like
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to believe that the veteran of a war is only a first level fighter.
Sure.
When I mean, if you're comparing a first level fighter to a commoner, know, or like a normal soldier or something like that, yes, they are. There's a difference there. You know, it's not a huge difference, but it's a noticeable difference.
Right. It's also important to note what challenges a group of a certain level can face is a big part of it too, because everyone knows the stereotype of like, oh, we're first level. I guess that means that we're going to be killing rats in the basement.
Swarms.
Exactly. Swarms or like kobolds or whatever. Those are common first level adventure encounters because they are low level monsters. But everyone wants to fight a dragon.
Yeah.
Or like a couple displacer beasts or something like that. I know I do. I love displacer beasts.
So a group of level 5 players can take on like a young dragon.
Exactly. And a first level party, they're probably going to get if they face like a third level encounter, the monsters are probably going to like mop the floor with them, depending on some things.
Yeah.
They're going to have a very, very hard chance with an encounter that's like 2 levels higher than them. A 5th level party fighting a 7th level encounter is probably going to have an easier time. Not necessarily an easy time, but there are a lot more things that they can do to give themselves an edge.
Right, yeah.
So I feel like it almost grows a little bit exponentially as you get in higher levels. So like as you get in higher levels, like there's just fewer things that are off the table. At low level, there's a lot of things. At first level, there's tons of things you just cannot do.
Right.
You can't
heal more than like once or twice.
If there's a giant pit, you can't fly across that pit unless you're a freaking winged tiefling stupid. Anyway, there's a lot of challenges that at first level, there is no way to overcome them. You got to find a way around, which if that's what you're going for, that's fine.
Yeah.
At 5th level, you can start throwing more difficult, more interesting challenges at the players. And even if they don't have the ability immediately to deal with it, they might be able to go back to town, buy a scroll of fly or whatever.
Right.
The higher level you get, the more ability you have to do things outside of the box.
Yeah.
You know. So I think that is an advantage of starting at higher level that a lot of people probably don't think of when they're, thinking of what level to start at.
And again, as a player, I've been really into multi-classing with creating my characters. 5 is great because you can get a third, like a level 3 and a level 2.
That's true.
So you could basically have 2 classes that have their main ability at that point. And that, you can there's some pretty good combinations there.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to reiterate the question, depending on the campaign, probably 2 or 3 for new players, 5 for experienced players. Unless it's 4th edition when first level all the way.
Sure. Yeah. Our next question comes from Zuvembi. Sorry if that's incorrect.
It's a TZ on there. So sorry if we got it wrong.
Yeah, okay. This was on Reddit, and they ask how to make a player's property investments interesting. There's definitely stuff out there. I don't know if there's anything official by Wizards of the Coast or anything.
Not in 5th edition, anyway.
Right. I've seen something. It's more than likely it's through like the DM's Guild or something. But there's definitely content people have made out there for building like a settlement. Depending on like what you invest into that settlement, you can get bonuses. Like say you like build an apothecary, so you get like discounts on potions or something like that. Or I think there's even like one of the ones I was looking at had where like you can have like in the field bonuses where it's not it's not just that you can go back to town and get a discount on something. It's like while you're out and about, you're getting like a bonus to like a skill check or something
because of something you had back at back home. Yeah. So I mean, I guess to rephrase the question, if your players want to buy property, if they want to like buy land, if they want to buy a stronghold, if they want to build a stronghold, how do you make that interesting? And the simple answer I would give is just use it.
Yeah.
Like, if the players have a stronghold, have a session where there is no adventure, but the players are instead doing stuff on their property. They're doing stuff to build up their stronghold.
Right. It could be, and you can make it like a normal adventure if you want. Like you can, like if the fighter wants to fight things, maybe make a part of it. It's like, oh, you got to clear out this little part of the forest.
Kill those rats that are in the basement.
Well, yeah, kill the rats in the basement, or like maybe you want to expand the land a bit.
Yeah.
Clear out this section of the forest so that your lumber workers can, like your lumberjacks can start chopping down the trees to make wood for building the fortress or whatever.
Yeah. In the D&D game that I'm playing with my friends from work, one of the first things that the DM, when we started this current campaign where I'm playing as the Shoulder. One of the things the DM told me was like, he wants to give us a base of operations. And I love that because I think we talked about giving your players a base of operations and the importance of having like the players be on the defensive sometimes and so on.
Sure.
Anyway, he told me that he wanted to give us a base of operations, and he was asking, because I'm an experienced player and or DM. And so he was asking my opinions on some stuff. And once we actually started the campaign, he gave us basically like a rundown old mansion in this part of town. Like it had been maintained by the city, but it was in disrepair. And so whoever owned the property, they gave it to us. They said, you do adventures for us sometimes, and you guys can live here. And there was a session. The entire session was our characters figuring out what we're going to do with each of the rooms. We had to figure out where we're going to get food, we had to like hire maids. We had to hire butlers, hire a cook. And on one hand, I feel like there was a time in my life where I would hear that and be like, oh, that sounds like the most boring thing ever. It was amazing.
Yeah. I
loved it. It is probably my favorite session that I have played with this group. Not that our other sessions with the group have been bad.
Right.
Some of them have been a little dry because it's just traveling and random encounters and whatnot. But especially in this campaign with these characters, it was so much fun being like, we had a map of it and he was like, okay, this is where we live. This room is going to be my room. I want this room to be this. We're going to put this, this thing in this room here. And I loved that. So involving the players in where they live, even if it is just a matter of having them come up with a map or giving them a map so that they can look at it and say, this room is my bedroom, this room is our kitchen, and so on. Now, there was a little bit more to us planning out, our living space. We found out that like our pantry, which had a sewer access, the door had been ripped off from the sewer. And we thought, oh, that's weird. So, we hired someone to repair it. They put a new one on there. And then that one got ripped off too.
Oh.
And then we had to go into the sewers that were connected to our home and find out what the heck was down there. We eventually fought this giant mass of rats that took humanoid form, and it was horrifying. But that, I feel like that was so much more interesting than just going to a dungeon somewhere, because this is connected to our home. We have to do this so that our home can be safe.
Right.
And like, heck, if we want to, we could come back down here again in the future and explore because it's connected to our home.
Sure.
I had a dream. I know we talked about last week about how terrible it is to share dream stories. Very small thing. I own a home. My wife and I, we bought our house about 2 years ago. We'll have it paid off in hopefully 2 or 3 years. And I had a dream once shortly after moving into this house where I was in the basement looking for something, and I found a hatch on the floor that I did not realize was there. And then I opened it up, and there was another floor to the house in this hatch under the basement.
Sure.
In real life, if that happened, that would be the coolest thing in the world.
Right.
Because it is like, I've lived in this place for a while, and I just found more space. Like, what could be in there?
What's in there?
Who put this here? Did they leave anything behind?
Is this gonna
what else? What other hidden secrets does this house hold?
Is this going to do anything to my property taxes?
Sure.
Am I zoned for this?
Every time we find like a compartment in this house that we have not found previously, we're always like, oh my goodness, that's where the money's being kept. There was a time in my wife's closet, she noticed that part of the carpet was like 2 inches higher than the rest of the carpet. And we're like, there's got to be
there's
a wad of bills hidden under there or something. So we pulled the carpet aside, and no, it was just like, maybe they originally had a different kind of carpet, and for whatever reason they left part of it and just papered over it. So that was disappointing. But like, there could be something hidden in this house. I don't know. In the drop ceiling in the basement, I found an empty pack of smokes, and like an old newspaper or something. And like, that's cool. That is fun stuff to find in a place that you live. So when the players in your D&D game have a space that is their own,
Right.
have a session, maybe not even an entire session, but have like the hook for the adventure be they found something cool in their home. And like they'll love it. They will tell you, as the DM, they will tell you, my character is going to be searching the property today. This is what my character is going to be doing. He's going to be doing something at home. That's how you make it interesting, is have there be stuff that the players are interested in.
Yeah. You know, having something that the player can call their own, you know, other than their equipment and stuff. It's kind of neat because it's something that they can think of between sessions.
Absolutely.
You know, like, you know, they're like having like a room that their character lives in. You know, you could be like, oh, you know, and I've added this to it, and like now I'm going to start collecting. My character's going to start collecting books or something.
Oh, that's really cool. And then, or maybe like your character's going to start collecting like a specific type of book.
Right.
And then when you as the DM are making the adventures, you can mention, oh yeah, and you see one of those books is in this evil warlord's library.
And you open that book, and inside there's a note.
Ooh.
And the note says, meet me in the courtyard at 2:30.
Is this a current note, or is this something somebody left a long time ago?
Bring money.
And then you can go into the courtyard at 2:30 with money and see what happens.
It's like nobody shows up. It's a really old note. What were you thinking?
What were you thinking? Exactly.
You're actually getting mugged.
Oh no.
It's like why you traveling in the courtyard at 2:30?
Yeah.
They meant PM, not AM.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. So like on one level, you could just say like the easiest way to make it interesting is just add new stuff. Reward the players for looking for new stuff.
Yeah.
When I ran the Age of Worms campaign, Age of Worms ding, I gave you guys like a rundown old shack that you were able to build on. And I said that there was a door in the basement that you couldn't open.
Right.
Had some sort of a magical ward on it. And then finally near the end of the campaign, I had you guys find a key that would open it up.
Right.
And then I had something crazy be behind there.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Even just something as simple as like, there is a door you cannot open.
Sure.
That will
haunt people.
That will haunt people, exactly. They will be so curious as to what could possibly be in there.
Behind that door?
So that here's another idea, and this would require a lot more investment out of game. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. But if you play Minecraft, or if there is a game that you can play with your friends each individually, you could go into a game like Minecraft and build the house that you guys live in.
Sure, yeah.
And then
make some sort of visual representation of it. And then like, you're building it together.
And then number one, players could individually go in and like, I'm going to make my room. Here's what my room looks like. Or number two, you could, if it's not a game that you can play online like that, you could just have it on your computer. And then when the players come over, you could be like, hey, we're going to start in 15 minutes. Before then, if anybody wants to explore the house, you know, explore the castle or whatever it is you've built.
Yeah.
Let them run around in a 3D space that represents their home.
Yeah.
That sort of thing is going to get your players interested.
And I also like the idea of like if you have like a big place and then it needs to be maintained and stuff while you're out adventuring, like hiring NPCs, you know, and like it doesn't have to be as simple as like, oh, I go down to the NPC store, you know, and buy a housekeeper. It's like you might rescue an NPC in a dungeon somewhere and like find out that like, oh, like, you know, they're the last survivor of their family because they, you know, when they got captured and like their family was killed or whatever, and now they're a ranger.
Of course.
But like, you know, you'd be like, hey, you know, like since you're not busy, you know, since everything you know and love is gone, here's something you can do with your life. You know?
There you go.
You can collect NPCs along the way, basically.
Sure.
I mean, you know, which is fun because like sometimes, you know, you come across an NPC that you just, and you know, the party takes a liking to, and then like they get to stick around, and now every time they go back to their house, they're like, oh, hey, it's so and so.
Yeah, there you go. Get the players emotionally invested in who is at their property.
And then destroy it.
Well, I mean, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, and then they will be interested in what happens there. But, I mean, that is a way that you could involve it in the game.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if you destroy a player's home, it is going to be so much more meaningful if you have had multiple sessions that take place entirely in that home.
Right.
And if there are NPCs there that the players have spent time interacting with.
Sure.
So yeah, that's how you make players' property investments interesting, is just use it, involve it in the game, put stuff there, make it interesting.
Right.
You know? Well, I think that'll do it for questions for today, for our normal questions for today, but we do have our social media discussion question for today. We actually got a pretty good response to this one, but the question was, you come across a locked door. What is your preferred method of opening it? And Jeff, do you recall what you said?
I said I just knocked.
Just knock? That's a good one.
Knock on the door. Maybe there's somebody on the other side to open it for you.
Yep. And then I said either pick the lock or find the key.
Sure.
And then we've got a bunch of people responded on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit. We have Scott N on Facebook said, playing my barbarian half-orc, I would reckless attack the door.
Yes.
If my fellow PCs told me to open the door, I would end up breaking the door or falling back to the ground. Either way, I was bringing out my inner Hulk.
There you go.
I really like this response, and this is actually from Chris.
Oh, yeah?
Real Chris.
Ooh.
He says, with style, man. Always with style.
Okay.
Good, it's a good answer.
Sure.
Good answer right there. Justin, this is Justin from Crit Academy. He said, this 100% depends on where the door is. And that's a valid point. If my character's in a dungeon, he'll most likely just kick it down. If it's in a noble's house, he'll find the key or pick the lock. If he's in an inn, he will check another room, as this probably isn't his room.
Very good.
That's pretty good. Dan W said knock.
Yeah.
Just like you.
Or the knock spell, maybe.
Sure. John G says, with a big boot while saying Avon calling, or all sneaky like detecting traps and trying to pick the lock.
Sure.
Collins, actually, who submitted the magic item for today, he said, I learned this method in Fallout, and it works well in D&D.
Oh?
The first locked door you find is usually a trap. Look around for a door that isn't locked, or at least a less noticeable door, and use that one.
Sure.
In Fallout 3, I want to say that there is a door that requires a master level skill to open, so like the maximum level of lockpicking.
Right.
And when you find this door, it is a broken door. The top half of the door is missing that you could easily just reach around and unlock it, but
right. But it's a master level.
It is
lock.
a master level lock. So
I think I remember that door.
The creators were having some fun with that one.
Right.
Jom, our patron Jom, says, I ask the rogue to pick it. If it's too difficult, I sigh, tell everyone to stand back, producing my wand from my boot, and chant Allahamora and cast Fireball at 6th level.
Okay.
So shoot a big fireball at it.
Right.
I think is a pretty good,
very good,
pretty good solution. Our friend Dave says, as an artificer character, throw an alchemical acid at it, which does like double damage to objects.
Sure, yeah.
So,
dissolve it, yeah.
On Twitter, I think we only got one on Twitter, and that was That's Sketchy says, and she's actually referring to Damien from Adventures in Aurelia. Damien says he would break it down. I prefer my lockpicking skills.
Sure.
So two opposite ways of dealing with the problem, but both pretty valid. And on Reddit, Timmy Soup says brute force. Lost Ranger 17, either the knock spell or having the Arcane Trickster use Mage Hand. That's really cool.
Oh, sure.
Because the Arcane Trickster can pick the lock from far away.
Oh.
So, like, if somebody's watching the door,
right,
peek around the corner, use your Mage Hand and open it up. P-Story Pancakes says, listen, knock, wait, listen again. Look around and pick the lock, or just kick it in. Depends on what kind of entry I want to make. And then a shrug emoji. Garrick42 says, smash open using the bard. So
throw the bard at it.
I guess, yeah.
Yes.
And then finally, Vincent Takeda says, I disengage the locking mechanism because I'm on the side of the door that has access to the lock. I mean, that's the kind of lock I'd prefer to encounter.
Sure.
The one that's keeping everyone else out.
Okay. Yeah, so have a high enough charisma to have talked your way into there in the first place.
There you go. That's very good.
I have a new one.
What's that?
You cover the door with bananas, and then you spend 10 charges to summon the monkeys.
Yeah, yeah. If you are world record eater Kobayashi,
yeah,
the door will likely be made of hot dogs, and you just eat them all.
You just dip them in water.
Dip them in water and eat them all. All right, so our our social media question for this coming week. I know we've talked about this on the podcast, but I am actually curious to see what our listeners have to say about this.
Oh, sure.
What is the worst magic item you've ever encountered in a game? It could be a homebrew magic item. Could be a magic item in the book. I've already got an answer. I mean, a magic item that I hate. I guess I'm not necessarily asking what's a magic item that you just hate, but like a magic item that either, let's say, it broke the game. Let's say it was a magic item that was so poorly implemented, or a magic item that was just useless.
I know of a magic item you don't like.
Let's just get out there. The bag of holding.
Bag of holding?
I don't like it.
Yeah. Is that?
I guess that's what I'll say, because I didn't think up a better answer for this one.
Sure.
But do you have one?
I can't remember if I do. I feel like there's like a magic item I'm not like a huge fan of.
Well, if you think of one, we'll talk about this again next week.
Sure. Very true.
So I am curious to see what our listeners come up with for that.
Your least favorite magic item?
Least favorite, or just you saw it and you were like, what is the point of that?
Right.
You can quantify worst magic item in any way you wish.
Sure. Yeah. That doesn't have to be worse statistically, if it makes the least amount of sense to you, or maybe you just plain don't like it. It stole $20 from you or something.
There you go. It kept asking for a tree fitty.
Right. Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for discussion questions for today. Before we close out, I think we need to take a deep breath. What was that?
I don't know.
Anyway, so let's sit back. Let's remember those who have come before us, those who have given their lives that we may have a better world to live in, or a worse world to live in, I guess.
Depending on the circumstances.
And let's toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's funeral pyre story was submitted by Isgatora on Reddit. And
Isgatora?
Gatora is.
Oh.
And they say, playing Digital Shades had a Reservoir Dogs style campaign. I don't know what Digital Shades is, but I would love to play a Reservoir Dogs style campaign.
Right.
One of the NPCs that helped with the robbery was shooting at the police that cornered the party in a warehouse. He critically failed.
Oh no.
I decided that fail would mean he gave his position away, letting the police know there were armed hostiles inside. And every single cop got to fire at him.
Oh no.
He was the one that got the least damage of all the party throughout the campaign, and he was left at -2 by the end of that one turn.
Oh, geez.
The party was shocked and terrified. So I guess he didn't necessarily die, at least not by the time the camera stopped rolling. But he was at least reduced to negatives by this big bunch of cops.
This big shootout.
Yes. Let's raise a glass in memory of this unlucky shooter.
Right.
Clink. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, our subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, or on Twitter @InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes, and we are going to be having a stream of us playing arcade games on FriendQuest. I'm thinking maybe Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Maybe on Labor Day. Do you work on Labor Day?
I don't think so.
If you don't, maybe let's have it that day. We'll see. We'll see. We'll keep you guys updated.
Cool.
And speaking of arcade games, if you'd like to submit some of your childhood memories of going to the arcade, either write them to us in an email or record it yourself and send it to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Now, speaking of Arcade Memories Podcast, as of this recording, I've got the first episode of that almost completely done. I'm going to put it out either today or tomorrow.
Nice.
So by the time this episode comes out, it should be out. I'll put on social media how you can find that. We'll probably mention it next episode. I hope it'll be really good, and I've got enough material for one more episode, and then if I get enough submissions, I'll make additional episodes after that.
Cool.
So head over to bit.ly/InterPartyConflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hackers RPG. So Jeff, until next time,
Knock, knock.
who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Banana.
Banana who?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's banana. Open up.
Thank you, Jeff.